The slap heard across the galaxy. The grand rotunda of Coalition Station Veritas was buzzing. Diplomats, generals, and soldiers of every species in the galaxy gathered under the cathedral-like dome, its ceiling a projection of local star systems. Flags of 100 worlds hung from translucent banners, rippling in the artificial breeze. Lieutenant Cole Maddox stood silently near the refreshment station, arms folded behind his back, dressed in the ceremonial black uniform of the Earth Navy SEALs. His broad shoulders and calm posture made him look like a statue amidst the swirling chatter of aliens. He wasn't here to socialize. He was here to represent Earth. And that meant watching, listening, and speaking only when it mattered. Across the room, standing nearly 8 feet tall and clad in shimmering exo-armor, was Commander Cole of the Drazathi. His kind were designed for war. Genetically sculpted, cybernetically enhanced, and arrogant beyond measure. The Drazathi had served as enforcers of the Galactic Coalition for centuries, and they didn't like sharing the table with newcomers like Earth. Cole had already insulted 2 Terran diplomats earlier that day. Then, during a live combat demonstration, he disabled a young Martian Marine and laughed while doing it. The crowd loved it, except the humans. Cole had said nothing until now. Cole approached him, drink in one hand, mockery in his stride. So, the Drazathi rumbled, his voice amplified by the speakers built into his armor. "You're the Terran representative they sent?" This small, soft-looking thing. Cole didn't react. He dealt with worse during Hell Week. Cole leaned in closer. "Tell me, Earthling, when you run out of air and cry in your little helmets, do you pray to your primitive gods? Or do you just wet your cells and die?" A few nearby species chuckled. Others looked away, uncomfortable. Cole's voice was steady. "Are you challenging me to a duel, Commander?" Cole laughed, so hard his shoulder plates clanked. "A duel? With you? I wouldn't waste the ceremony." Before anyone could speak, Cole raised a massive, 3-fingered hand and slapped Cole across the face. The sound cracked through the chamber like a plasma bolt. A stunned silence followed. Glasses stopped midair. Conversations died. Eyes widened. Cole took a half-step back, jaw tilted, a red mark blooming across his face. Blood traced the corner of his lip. His body didn't fall. It didn't even flinch. He slowly straightened. "Under Coalition law," Cole said calmly, "an open-hand strike witnessed by 3 or more is legally an honor challenge." "I accept." Cole blinked, the humor draining from his face. "You're serious?" Cole wiped his lip. "I am." A light on the ceiling pulsed red. The station AI confirmed. Dual registered. Location: Combat Circle Delta. Time: immediate. No one laughed now. Cole snorted. "This will be over in seconds." Cole looked him dead in the eye. "Exactly 2 seconds of hell." The combat circle was a wide, sunken arena at the heart of the station, an ancient relic of the Coalition's more barbaric past, now used for formal honor duels. Smooth, obsidian-like tiles lined the floor, bordered by energy pylons to contain high-impact motion and weapon discharges. The stands filled quickly. Diplomats, soldiers, and dignitaries flooded in to witness the spectacle. Some came for entertainment. Others came because they couldn't believe what they'd seen. A human, a Terran, of all things, had accepted a duel with a Drazathi warborn, and he had been slapped first. Lieutenant Cole Maddox stood at the center of the ring. He'd removed his ceremonial coat and stood in a compression shirt and reinforced combat pants. No armor, no helmet, no weapons. Across from him, Commander Cole stepped forward with the sound of hydraulic hisses and power coils charging beneath his armor. His plated fists flexed. His eyes glowed with the green sheen of optical targeting implants. "I'll try not to pulp you too badly," Cole sneered. "It'd be inconvenient to hose your remains off the floor." Cole didn't respond. He simply lowered into a relaxed stance, shoulders slightly hunched, feet apart, hands loose. The station AI's voice echoed across the arena. Duel acknowledged. Strike protocols initiated. Engagement in 3 turn. Second one. Cole lunged, fast, far faster than any being that size had the right to move. His right arm blurred forward, a hammer fist aiming to drive Cole into the floor with one strike. But Cole wasn't there. He stepped to the left, pivoting on his heel. The motion was tight, trained, honed through thousands of hours in kill-house simulations, desert camps, underwater lockouts, and zero-gravity boarding drills. As VR Call's punch missed, Cole's left hand shot up, struck a nerve cluster beneath the Drazathi's armpit, and slid inward between armor seams. An opening so small no one else had ever exploited it. VR Call snarled, but the shock broke his rhythm. Second two. Cole's right hand moved next. Fast as a whip, fingers extended. He struck VR Call's temple, not a blunt blow, but a targeted precision strike. Three fingers curved inward as he slammed the alien's secondary cranial plate with a biomechanical technique developed for close-quarters kills on armored targets. A sound cracked through the chamber. Not a punch, not a scream, a shatter. VR Call stumbled. His legs locked. His massive arms fell limp. And then, with a horrible groan of metal and bone, the Drazathi collapsed face first onto the obsidian floor. The impact echoed. The arena went dead silent. Cole stood over the unmoving body, breathing slow and steady. 2 seconds, he said to no one in particular. Stunned silence. Station medics bolted forward. Scanners confirmed what no one believed. VR Call's skull, both primary and secondary, was cracked and caved in. Neural feedback had flatlined. Commander VR Call was clinically dead within moments of impact. A wave of murmurs rippled across the stands. Some species blinked in disbelief. Others looked at Cole with something deeper than surprise. Fear. Admiral Kez Thrak of the Borun Confederacy muttered, "That wasn't just strength. That was training. That was designed." The Drazathi delegation looked as though they were ready to charge, but even they hesitated. Not out of diplomacy. Out of doubt. Out of uncertainty. Out of survival instinct. Cole walked out of the circle calmly. No posturing. No victory howl. No gesture of triumph. Just a statement. Don't start what you can't finish. Echoes of impact. The aftermath settled like radiation. Silent, invisible, and dangerous. Commander VR Call's body was removed under a field shroud. The crowd had dispersed, but not in a normal way. No one spoke loudly. No one laughed. The echoes of boots and clawed feet were all that filled the corridor halls as dignitaries returned to their quarters, heads buzzing with what they had just seen. In a private chamber high above the arena, a dozen high-ranking coalition officials gathered. The mood was electric and divided. That human, spat Envoy Zithel of the Cyric Dominion, her eyes like wet obsidian, committed an act of assassination disguised as a duel. Incorrect, grumbled Arch-Commander Vrox of the Onari Pact, his 4 mouths moving in unison. Your own station AI verified it was a legal challenge. The Drazathi initiated the strike. He could have disabled them non-lethally. Admiral Kaz Arlen of Earth's United Defense Corps leaned forward, voice like steel wire. Our soldier responded within the bounds of the challenge. You don't get to dictate how humans fight back when provoked. The Borun Confederacy's representative nodded slowly. He didn't act with malice. He acted with precision. That's what's terrifying. The room quieted. Outside that chamber, Cole sat alone in the debrief room, sipping recycled water and reviewing the AI's playback of the duel. He watched himself move in slow motion, his steps, his angles, the crack of VR Call's skull. Every frame was surgically clean. Textbook execution. He didn't smile. Lieutenant, a voice called as the door opened. It was Admiral Arlen. Her expression was unreadable. You've caused quite a diplomatic stir, she said, walking in. Some want you court-martialed. Some want to promote you. Some want you shipped back to Earth immediately. A few want her DNA. Which ones? Cole asked dryly. The ones who blinked too slow, she replied. She handed him a tablet. He read the headline. Terran operative defeats Drazathi champion in under 2 seconds. Below there were analysis breakdowns. Frame by frame, biomechanical studies. Slow-motion captures. Sensor data. Alien military think tanks were already dissecting every movement he made. Cole set it down. It won't stop there, he said. No, Arlen agreed. It won't. You didn't just kill a soldier, Maddox. You shattered a myth. The Drazathi were the Coalition's unspoken enforcers. No one ever beat them in fair combat. You didn't just win, you made it look easy. I did what I was trained to do, and you did it perfectly. Cole paused. They'll come after us now, not just with weapons. With treaties, politics, pressure. Earth made its mark. Now, they'll want to contain us. Admiral Arlen nodded. That's why you're not going back to Earth. Cole looked up. You're being reassigned. Effective immediately, you'll serve as a Coalition Special Operations Liaison. Your mission is to advise, observe, and, if necessary, demonstrate what humanity brings to the table. Cole considered this. They're scared. Yes, she said. And for once, that's a good thing. Later, in a shadowed chamber aboard a warship cloaked in the void between sectors, a different kind of meeting occurred. Drazathi warriors stood in silence around a darkened table. A hologram of VR Call's final moments looped again and again. His guard was down, one warrior muttered. He underestimated the human. He died with dishonor, said another. No, growled the Drazathi warlord, rising from his seat. His armor creaked under the weight of age and fury. He died wrong, not because he was weak, but because he thought humans were. The others remained silent. Earth is not what we thought, the warlord said. We saw their planet, their wars, their violence. But we mistook that chaos for primitiveness. He narrowed his glowing eyes. We forgot they are a death-world species. They don't win with power. They win with purpose. He raised his clawed hand and closed it slowly into a fist. Let the galaxy be warned. The humans have shown their fangs. The respect of fear. The days that followed were a storm of diplomatic tension, quiet recalibrations, and carefully veiled admiration. Coalition media spun the duel in 1,000 directions. Some called it brutality. Others claimed it was justice. But the core truth remained undeniable. A human Navy SEAL had killed a genetically enhanced super soldier in under 2 seconds. The Drazathi embassy never demanded revenge. They simply sent a message. Strength was answered by greater strength. Honor has been restored. No further words. No threats. No retaliation. Because retaliation was a risk they weren't sure they could afford anymore. Cole Maddox stood at the edge of Observation Deck 9, hands clasped behind his back. The stars spilled endlessly across the viewing window. Motionless, indifferent, eternal. But somewhere out there, alliances were shifting and battle plans were being rewritten with one variable newly underlined. Human combat capability. Beautiful view, said a soft voice behind him. He turned slightly. A tall figure in diplomatic robes approached. A Yazirian delegate named Talirun, known for her cool neutrality. She stood beside him quietly for a moment before speaking again. You've altered the course of interspecies relations, she said. I didn't mean to, Cole replied. Didn't even throw the first hit. Talirun gave a rare, wry smile. That's why it worked. Cole tilted his head. You didn't seek dominance. You reacted with lethal efficiency only when forced. That frightens the Coalition more than any show of power. It means Earth doesn't posture. You act. And that, Lieutenant Maddox, changes everything. He didn't answer right away. His fingers tapped lightly behind his back. I just did what any of my team would have done. Talirun turned to face him fully. Perhaps, but only you were here. And now every military leader in the galaxy knows your name. In the Coalition's High War Council chamber, Earth's status was being discussed with new urgency. We underestimated the Terrans, admitted Admiral Keck of the Vorgan Sphere. Their world forged them in gravity, storms, and war. They evolve through pressure. They are not weak, they are compressed power. One of the silent observers, a Zalari technocrat, finally spoke. What do we do about them? Admiral Kaz Arlen of Earth, present via hololink, leaned forward with steel in her eyes. You don't do anything about us, she said coldly. You either stand beside us, or make the mistake of standing against us. A long silence followed. Then the High Council chair, an ancient Polari with 6 centuries of peacekeeping behind her, tapped her data rod and said, Earth's position on the Coalition Council will be elevated to primary military advisor status, effective immediately. A murmur spread. The galaxy had just acknowledged something they tried to deny for decades. Humans were not to be managed. They were to be respected. Back on Veritas Station, Cole stood once more in the combat circle. It was empty now, quiet, but the scarring on the floor where VR Call had fallen was still visible, despite repairs. The station engineers had quietly stopped trying to erase it. It had become a landmark. Footsteps approached. Admiral Arlen joined him, datapad in hand. "Your reassignment came through," she said. "Another battlefield?" She smiled faintly. "Diplomacy. With teeth." He raised an eyebrow. "We're sending you to train Coalition Special Forces. A dozen species want to learn Terran close-quarters doctrine. They don't trust each other, but they trust you." Cole didn't move for a moment. "Then, you mean they fear me?" "Same thing. In this business," Arlen replied. "Sometimes fear gets more done than friendship." She handed him the datapad. It was a dossier marked Project Cerberus Cross-Species Combat Integration Program. His name topped the list. Cole stared at it for a moment, then looked around the arena. 2 seconds, he said quietly. "Changed everything," she replied. He nodded once. "Let's make it count." As they walked out, a pair of cadets whispered as he passed. "That's him, the human who killed a Drazathi warlord." "No way. He doesn't even look that strong." Cole's ears caught it. He didn't turn around. Instead, he smiled. Because that's how it always started, with disbelief. Until it was too late.